Hello, you're watching TelecomTV. I'm Guy Daniels, Director of Content, and this is our live preview of the DSP Leaders Summit on Open RAN, where we look at the rapid emergence of open radio access network technologies and their increasing importance given the changing geopolitical climate for network operators and the desire to create a wider, more diverse vendor ecosystem. Joining me once again is Ray Maistre, Editorial Director at TelecomTV and co-host of the Summit. Good afternoon, Ray. Looking forward to our deep dive on Open RAN.
Well, Guy, as you know, I love a deep dive, especially when it's into a vat of Argentine Malbec. But Open RAN will do for now, and it's still a little bit early.
Just a little bit early. As regular TelecomTV viewers know, we do like to match our summits with an appropriate coffee. Coffee, after all, is an essential component of absolutely everything we do. So, Ray, what's the Bean of the Month recommendation?
Well, it's possible I'm at risk of repeating myself here, Guy, but I have to give a big shout out to the Brazilian bourbon nuggets of joy being served up by my numero uno establishment, the Algerian coffee store in London Soho. So how do they describe these gems of nature? I'm glad you asked. So here we go. Robust and oily, a heavy and intense body with notes of caramel and hazelnut. Oh no, hold on, that is the Tinder profile for Hugh Jackman. Anyway, the coffee is really good. Back over to you for some common sense and some relevant discussion about why we're here today.
Common sense is pushing it a bit, Ray, especially after the week we've just had. But I'll give it a go. We have sessions over 3 days, Tuesday through Thursday, and to get the most out of the summit, you need to be a registered user of TelecomTV. So hop on over to telecomtv.com/openran. We'll send you an email reminder to watch the sessions with all the details, and you'll be able to send questions to our panelists. We really do want to hear from you. Ray, the theme for our summit is Open RAN. What is it good for? I feel a song coming on, but fear a copyright teardown notice if we go that route.
Songs? I mean, we don't do singing here, Daniels. What do you think this is, a cabaret? So, yes, Open RAN. What is it good for? Well, for once, the answer is not absolutely nothing, because it's already been very good for shaking up the industry, encouraging new business development, and it's been great for ramping up our video and page views. And while Open RAN still has many naysayers, understandably, we have to remember this is an operator-driven trend. This is something the operators have been pushing to make a reality for years, even before geopolitics interfered with the supply landscape.
Yeah, indeed, absolutely right. Maybe we should start this summit preview by exploring what the operators would like Open RAN to be good for.
Yeah, absolutely. What a great idea. Okay, let's start with reshaping the operator-tech supplier relationship. So operators have been complaining for several years that there isn't enough diversity in the radio access network technology sector, that they're tied to product life cycles and R&D plans of just a few major vendors. And for sure, the top trio of Ericsson, Huawei and Nokia dominate the radio access network market with more than 80% market share. But embracing Open RAN is not just about breaking that vendor lock-in. It's also about a need to be easily able to swap in or out best-of-breed products and suit the specific needs of operators. And this can only be done more easily if all the vendors develop their products with agreed open interfaces, which of course is what Open RAN is really all about. And that in turn brings a greater focus on disaggregated architectures and the importance of the software elements that can run on standard, non-proprietary, non-pre-integrated hardware.
Indeed, and this very point was pointed out recently in the UK by Tariq Amin, the CTO at Rakuten Mobile, which has built its 5G network in Japan and which is now in commercial operation using an Open RAN architecture. He explained during a recent testimony to a UK government committee that was looking at the future of communications networking, the problem with existing network technology life cycles and how Rakuten mix things up. And courtesy of our friends at Parliament TV, we have a clip we can play for you right now.
And if you really look at the detail and you ask, how do we deploy networks today? it has been always about replacing proprietary hardware and putting new hardware. It was never about software. And for 5G, I started now bringing diversification of suppliers. I brought NEC, and I brought several suppliers from the US to create hardware diversification and a very large ecosystem from indoor to outdoor to microcells to macrocells. So we have a very healthy suppliers that we have funded, incubated, and delivered significant efficiencies to Rakuten in Japan.
So Tarek Amin is not just seeking greater network system diversification. He's gone one step further and subverted the supply chain, engaged with and sourced directly from component manufacturers to develop the network systems that Rakuten needed. Now, we wrote about this earlier this year when the Rakuten CTO talked about the massive capex savings he claims to have realized in his 5G radio access network rollout. And he talked about the same process during his recent testimony in the UK.
We are one of the few companies in the world and a few operators, to my knowledge, that I know of, that go to a level of component engineering design that doesn't exist on this world. It doesn't exist in our ecosystem from an operator point of view. I said, I want to think about a world in which we create a diversification of chipset supplier, because I do believe this is where the future world and the future competition is about. By the way, it's not about factories anymore. Mm-hmm. I think who controls the new silicon is what I want. That's the gaps I'm missing today.
So, I mean, Rakuten Mobile effectively is becoming a hybrid company, an operator, but also a creator of next-gen network systems, a tech integrator, as well as developing much of its own software. It's also developing relationships with other operators, most notably so far Telefonica, to engage in joint procurement and network architecture model development, as we reported in September. And Rakuten is also hoping to become a cloud-based supplier of software workloads for radio access networks through its Rakuten Communications Platform, or RCP, and that's currently in development. So it's becoming a next-gen vendor in many ways. And it's not the only company with that ambition. Reliance Jio in India, where Tarek Amin used to work, also harbors ambitions to develop its own 5G networking capabilities and monetize that R&D.
Oh yes, that's another major operator we need to keep a very close eye on. We should also look at the other side of the coin here. Not all operators have the skill sets to do this, or the wherewithal. And then, is it possible that operators get sucked into this nightmare world of multiple vendor relationships? It's a bit of a double-edged sword, which is where we need to introduce new ways of working and new mindsets to gain efficiencies. And here's what Rakuten says about introducing new operational processes and identifying new cost efficiencies.
We carry twice as much traffic as your average data consumer in Japan, because we have given the rate plan at 70% less cost, not because we want to go bankrupt, but because this technology has driven cost and economics that telecom operators could not imagine. Imagine this, today I am exactly 70% cheaper than traditional incumbents in Japan because of this architecture. Now, isn't that a good thing for consumers?
It would seem so. It would seem so. Okay, so let's look at what else Open RAN is good for. Well, identifying efficiencies and taking a giant leap into the world of cloud platform operations and the agility and processes and workflows that brings with it. Now, all of this involves embracing the kinds of work processes more commonly associated with the web-scale cloud giants and not being constrained by vendor product timelines and the publication of traditional standards and industry group specifications. And here's what Tarek Amin had to say one final time.
That the world in the future has to be embracing cloud, elasticity, and security on how we build, future telco networks. I have huge respect to standards forums, and I have huge respect to what Open RAN is trying to do. From Rakuten point of view, we had we saw an obstacle, and the obstacle is we had to launch the network in 2 years. And while standards are critical, valuable, important, we also have to be cognizant about the importance of agility. I think we're not doing enough to be agile. That's my own humble opinion. I think we take too much to debate, too much to really find out whether this is the right problem, this is the right solution or not. And I really advise you to think about the cloud world. Now, the cloud companies has been moving at a lightning speed. What hinders us in telecom to do the same thing? There must be something. So I think standards are important, but I would also to tell you that I think it is well overdue that mentality and mindset need to change. So I am passionately involved in this Open RAN because that's what I believe the future needs to look like.
Now, if you want to watch Tarek's complete testimony, or indeed, the entire UK government hearing, it's over 2 parts and it goes on for about 3 hours. There's a lot of content there. Then head over to Parliament TV. It's a great resource and well worth checking out. Now, the issue that Tarek raises also includes some of the more colourfully named processes around testing and maintenance, such as Chaos Monkey, as Dish Network's CTO Mark Ruan described to TelecomTV recently. Chaos Monkey, I hear you say? Well, yes, that is correct. It's a process developed by Netflix, one of several tools as part of its Simian Army software suite. Yep, Simian Army software suite. Now, we've spoken about Netflix quite a while. In fact, if you really want to understand cloud-native processes, then you ought to keep a close eye on the Netflix technology blog. They're doing some truly outstanding work that should be of huge importance to telcos. And my favourite is Janitor Monkey, because for some reason, there is no Cheeky Monkey.
Well, not yet anyway, Guy. Okay, so moving on, another thing that operators think Open RAN will be good for is enabling a new era of innovation. Fostering innovation, that is something that Rakuten, to its credit, has been doing. It's acquired assets such as OSS specialist InnoEye, taken an equity stake in some vendors, think Altiostar here. And it's something that all the operators are looking for, this new era of innovation. They want a broader set of companies, a bigger pool of tech developers from which to choose. And they're all very keen on finding ways to support and foster new innovative startups. Now, we heard about this topic during the keynote executive interviews that we conducted for the summit with Andre Fuich from AT&T, Alex Choi, from Deutsche Telekom, Diego Tenorio from Vodafone, Sadayuki Abita from NTT Docomo, and Neil McRae from BT. So, there are numerous avenues to market for these, any new startups. There are new opportunities, especially as the world becomes more cloud native and more cloud-oriented. And we can envisage a future where there's essentially an app store of RAN capabilities available to network operators on AWS, on Google Cloud, on Microsoft Azure, which of course is building up its own arsenal of telecoms technology with its acquisitions of Affirm Networks and Metaswitch. And of course, Rakuten's RCP is also going to be providing this kind of avenue to technology as well. What's missing, though, is how these startups might be supported and given some sort of optimized opportunity to engage with the network operators and gain the confidence that they need to be able to plan for years ahead. I mean, everybody wants new startups to work with, but the procurement models of the operators and the support systems for startups is really not helping these innovators right now.
No, absolutely it's not. And that's a big topic, of course, and one that we will be coming back to time and time again in our events. But let's focus now on what's happening in the Open RAN Summit itself. Day one occurs on Tuesday, the 17th of November. We'll have new videos posted during the day to watch on demand whenever and however you want. We have our live Q&A show scheduled for 4:30 p.m. UK time, but more about that later. We have our keynote interviews with Andrea Fuich and Alex Choi. Plus, we have a panel discussion on expanding the mobile ecosystem with Open RAN. And Ray, this whole notion of ecosystem, again, we come back to it all the time. It seems so central and important to so many aspects of the future direction of telecoms.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And, I think we've seen this in the past couple of years as a number of new companies have come on board, many of them through the support of TIP, the Telecom Infra Project. But it's clear that some kind of new model, new framework, new structure is needed to be able to expand the ecosystem as the operators want.
Yeah, it's something the industry talks about an awful lot, but we do need to see more action from more players in the industry. Day 2, Wednesday, the 18th of November. We start with 2 more keynotes, Diego Tenorio of Vodafone and Saruyuki Abeta of NTT Docomo. And we follow these with a 2-part panel discussion that looks at the economics of Open RAN. The first part focuses on the planning, sourcing and building Open RAN deployments. And the second moves on to the even trickier aspect of operating and maintaining them. Ray, I think it's also important that when we covered this topic, we did split this into 2 because there's a lot of focus now on how do we go about this, who do we pick, how do we source different components and partners, how do we put it all together. But the perhaps even harder problem is coming fast, which is how do we operationalize and maintain them?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a very exciting journey, and we're hearing from more and more operators now about what they're thinking about, what they're planning, but also, that they are engaging now in trials and tests and POCs. Of course, what would be great to hear more about is the outcome of those initial trials, just how well the initial Open RAN deployments and trial sites have behaved and how they've reacted. So hopefully we'll hear a lot more about that in 2021 as well.
Yes, I hope so too. And so to our third and final day, Thursday, the 19th of November, we have our final operator keynote, Neil McRae of BT, followed by 2 panel discussions. The first one looks at the test and integration challenges of an Open RAN ecosystem. And the O-RAN Alliance has been doing a lot of work with this, along with its operator partners and also TIP. The second panel is a great counterpoint to all that we're hearing from the likes of Rakuten. And this panel turns its attention to the role of Open RAN in mature mobile markets. And Ray, it's all very well hearing from the likes of Rakuten, but the majority of operators already have substantial installed base, and they've got to get Open RAN integrated and running alongside.
Yeah, I mean, and that is a major challenge. Some of I think the biggest deployments that we've seen so far, apart from Rakuten, which of course is a greenfield network, have been in rural areas, and in a way they're kind of greenfield as well. So they're standalone. They're not really integrating with the legacy OSS and all the other support systems for the existing network. So bringing these together in the same way as the operators had to think about how they would bring virtualized elements and capabilities alongside their legacy physical infrastructure as they embrace virtualization. These are really the big challenges for the vast majority of operators out there who are thinking of deploying Open RAN technology.
Yeah, absolutely, certainly are. Now we end each day of the summit with our live Q&A sessions, and they start at 4:30 p.m. UK time. And the sessions during last month's Edgenomics Summit proved to be an absolute riot, a real hoot. So don't miss them. You'll need to be a registered viewer to submit a question. And most of our speakers are returning for these live sessions.
Yeah, of course. And no DSP Leaders Summit would be complete without one of our Snap polls. So we've got a question on the site, and the question is, when will Open RAN architectures be able to deliver an equivalent carrier-grade performance to that of traditional radio access network systems for 2G, 3G, 4G and 5G? And the choices range from it already can through to maybe by 2030 and whisper it quietly, never. So the poll is now open. So head over to the TelecomTV website, if you're not there already, of course, and you'll find the poll in the Open RAN Summit pages.
Yes, and please fill that one out. I've already cast my vote, ever the early voter. Right, I think it is time to wrap things up. Thank you so much for joining us today, and please get in touch with us and send in your questions and ideas around Open RAN. We really, really do want to hear from you. So with that, it's goodbye from me.
And it's arrivederci, au revoir, ciao, and see you laters from him.